Hi everyone, and good morning. So today we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about hunting surface animals and using that as a way to keep your squads from becoming rusty. Anytime a dwarf doesn't use a skill, including military skills, it'll become rusty. And so a great way to just keep your squads kind of on their game and also to troubleshoot, how they respond and what they're doing is just anytime that you notice in the list of creatures in the other tab, in the list of creatures, anytime you notice that there seem to be like a big group of animals moving through your territory, you can target your squads on them, and then they'll run out, and it's basically like hunting. They'll kill these wild animals, and then the meat can be processed, and the skin, the leather, or anything. But so that's what we're doing in this first little section, is I'm just following, you can see there, kill hyenas is the order. And a lot of animals are pretty fast, which is good practice for, crossbow dwarfs to aim. And then eventually, they'll run them down. But this is a good way to test your squad's response times and what they seem to struggle with. If they don't have enough gear, you can see, I'm checking the injuries on this one just to make sure, see how it's going, basically. See what their gear is. You can see this one only has it's not that bad. It has a tunic, it has a crossbow, it has shoes. That's about medium, I would say, for a well-equipped dwarf, or, medium-low. The other thing that I want to talk about, let's stay focused on the hyenas while this is happening. It seems like I'm wrapping up now, because the one thing I had to do was appoint a new chief medical dwarf to make sure that these, and there you go, I'm saving it, to make sure that my hospital was running at full capacity, because a few of these dwarves do get hurt. They're not very experienced. This is why it's good practice. And of course, with squads, you can just set them to staggered training, and that's a much easier way to make sure that they don't get too rusty. But I like to do this a live fire training every once in a while. And it's a good way just to make sure that your squads are handling it, and you don't accidentally have a dwarf who's going to freak out and be useless in combat or something like that. I just recommend that in general. Just go to other, and if you seem to notice, hey, there's 6 giraffe or 6 hyena or something, just try your soldiers out on them. And so while they're mopping this up, I'm going to take people through just a few of these menus that I'm clicking through that can be useful. You see their military. Right now we're on the health tab, and there's the military tab as well. And that marks kills, what gear they have, what part of the squad they are. Health is also really useful, although for beginner players, you may be surprised to find that inside of health, you're going to want to go to description, because that's going to show actual physical injuries. And until you're familiar with how medicine in Dwarf Fortress works, then that's going to be the most useful. And also before you have your medical, everything set up, dwarves actively diagnosing, and which they won't be able to do in battle like this either. So you're going to want to go to health description for the most up-to-date, why is this dwarf struggling to fire his crossbow? Because he lost the Wolverine bit a few fingers off, that kind of thing. You see the 2 little swords up in the top left corner. That's also literally blow by blow. Fight reports, which you can use, those are also useful. And this is how you actually, visualize and see exactly what's happening in the combat, which is very, complex. You can see her left front leg is cut open, her left front leg is bruised. There's different levels of injury. And it's something can be completely missing, it can be mangled, it can be cut open, it can be dented, and I'm trying to go in order. I think so. It's completely missing, mangled, dented, as in a chunk is taken out of it, or possibly it's been bashed down, bashed flat, but dented, and then cut open, and then bruised, and then these will all heal to scars of various sizes until they're just small scars. And that's a cool thing, because you'll sometimes see a dwarf who, just has all these little scars. Okay, I guess the hunt is over, so let me pitch you guys on this idea, and I really don't know how I'm going to do it. But it came to me in a dream, and I should have studied the speech from Bioshock. I want to be the Andrew Ryan of some dwarf fortress. And what that's going to mean is to make an impassable water barrier that locks all dwarves under the surface and prevents meaningful exchange from the surface. And that's going to be really tough in a few ways. And please leave in the comments because I really need to. I'm still thinking this through about how I'm going to be the Andrew Ryan of Dwarf Fortress and make a Bioshock world that, of course, ends terribly, just like in the games. Or spoiler alert: it's a closed society that kind of spins itself apart, and that's not really a spoiler because that's literally the premise of the first game. That's more of an exposition than spoiler, but that's what I want. So I would have to sacrifice a fortress, basically, and I'm trying to decide whether I should do like an evil, like a sinister embarkment with bad land, but like a river on top, and then I would not lose much by going straight underground and using that river to like create like a membrane of water that nothing could pass through on some level. But I wouldn't have enough food in that case because it would be a new embarkment, and you can't cheat as much in the Steam version. I couldn't just hack myself in enough food to make it work that I know of, or that I can, that I'm familiar with. And, oh, by the way, thanks again. Somebody mentioned that you can just expel dwarves that are getting too unhappy, and it works like a charm. I've actually been using that a lot. Yeah, it works like a charm. This fortress of mine is a very, authoritarian state, because anybody who even complains, looks at me funny, gets kicked out. But what was I saying? So that's why I'm a perfect Andrew Ryan. So I'm thinking maybe what I should do is, I'm getting better with the aquifer on this map, and this fortress is very, very robust. So maybe what I could do is move all my stockpiles deep down, and then what I've been doing to increase my aquifer production. I stutter every single time I start to talk about the aquifer. I'm going to try not to. Okay, but the way that I have, and see, I just pause if I'm not going to stutter, but the way that I have increased my aquifer's water production is by making reservoirs that they drain into, and they drain into without evaporating. So what you do is you just kind of like funnel the infinite but slow generating aquifer water into reservoirs, and then you have the reservoirs plus that aquifer. And if you do that enough, you can actually have as much water as you like. And another thing is, instead of pumping it off the map, you can pump it back up with a screw pump and into a reservoir. Get it up Z level so it has potential energy. And so that's what I'm doing with this map. I think what I'll probably do is, somewhere on this map, I will wall it off with water so that my dwarves are now living only in the cave, and the traders will not know what happened to them. If the queen's consort or if the queen comes to visit, there will be no one to guide her. And I do expect, just like in Bioshock, for that to spin my fortress apart. But please leave in the comments if you have any recommendations for things you'd like to see. I realize that this is like the perfect mix of my own interest in water engineering in Dwarf Fortress specifically, and also be like a fun social experiment. I do expect it to not be sustainable, and to kind of be like Bioshock in that way, where the dwarves are getting very unhappy and kind of tearing, wishing that they could get back to the surface, and then maybe I'll let them, this is just an experiment. But yeah, please leave in the comments if you have any ideas for how to make this work. I'll be reading the wiki and just kind of researching until then. Yeah, thanks as always, guys. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, love you all. I'll see you in the next video.